What's up guys, it's Ivan, and today I am going to read you the statement of purpose that got me rejected from the PhD in education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Before I get into the video, I do want to mention that I offer a statement of purpose review service on the freelance platform called Fiverr, which is linked down below. With this service, I provide constructive feedback so that you don't make the mistakes I made in applying to elite institutions. Starting on Sunday, November 19th, all the way through January 1st, I am reducing my statement of purpose review service fee by $100. So if you need another pair of eyes to give you constructive feedback to improve your statement of purpose, now is the time to place an order. I look forward to working with you. My career goal is to develop and direct a research center and mentoring program that addresses concerns around equity and access for Latino males in education. Specifically, I plan to conduct groundbreaking interdisciplinary research that directly informs policies and practices to improve college access, retention, and degree completion of Latino males in higher education. A PhD in cultures, institutions, and society at the Harvard Graduate School of Education will equip me with the theoretical knowledge, practical experience, and research training necessary to improve the lives and shape the futures of boys and men of color in the United States. So in the introductory paragraph here, I think I did a couple of things that were interesting, but obviously I didn't get into the PhD in education at Harvard for a couple of reasons. In the introductory paragraph, I think I made a couple of mistakes and hence why I didn't get into Harvard or their PhD program. And one of those reasons is because my theme is very niche. So as you can tell, my theme here is advancing the success of Latino males in education, particularly as it relates to college access. And that is a great topic and very underexplored in the literature, but it's very niche. It's at the local, maybe like the regional level. And for a school like Harvard and other elite institutions, they're looking for the next innovators, the next leaders, the next policymakers, the next education reformers. And so my initial introductory paragraph does not tie to that. Why would they want to accept me if I'm only going to be impacting a small little community within the larger context of education in the United States? So they're looking for those next leaders that are going to transform not just their community, but other communities around the world. And so you want to make sure that when you're writing about your career goal, that you're thinking about that goal at a grandiose lens, that it's large, that it's more systemic, that it's more structural, and not just focused on the niche, the small little communities that you are all living in, right? I'm not saying to negate your community, but for the purpose of the statement of purpose, you want to think larger and bigger, more where you're going to be able to make a larger impact, not just to a small niche of people. When you're in the PhD program, you can work on other projects that are more niche based, that are more about your community, but the first goal is getting into that program, which requires you to think larger and to think of being the next leader in education reform. Growing up as a low-income Mexican male, I have constantly found myself struggling with and within an educational system that was not designed to meet my needs. My middle and high schools did not have access to academically rigorous classes nor qualified counselors who could help with the college planning process. Students were expected to use outdated textbooks, technologies, and resources. Parents did not have tools, language, nor support to effectively be involved in their children's educations. Due to the poor preparation provided by my high school, I arrived at Washington State University unsure of whether I belonged in college. Nevertheless, through my participation in the College Assistance Migrant Program, a federally funded college access program designed to guide students from seasonal migrant farm worker backgrounds through their first year of college, I began to gain confidence in my abilities as a first-generation college student. Camp provided me and the other 59 students in my cohort with intrusive advising, tutoring, cultural enrichment opportunities, and most importantly, mentors who look like me. Okay, so my initial thought when I was writing this part of my application was that I wanted to showcase who I was as a Latino male and how that relates to my introduction, right? Because I'm looking at advancing the success of Latino males in education. So I was thinking that I would show my perspective as a Latino male. And I think that was somewhat of a mistake. A lot of the stuff that I write in here is very broad. The things that can apply to any other applicant that was a Latino male. And so for programs like Harvard, you have to stand out. You have to be unique. So I wish I would have chosen a different story about my life that related to me personally, that still showcased why it's important to invest in Latino males. And I did not do a good job of doing that in this paragraph because it was super broad that it could apply to any Latino male that was applying to Harvard or any other schools. And so I wish I would have done that. The second part of this paragraph tied into my college access experience, right? So I wrote down the school that I attended. But the mistake that I made was that I changed the topic. So now I'm talking about federally funded programs and how those programs help with college access, right? And it doesn't relate to my career goal. I should have been talking about maybe how that related to supporting Latino males, or choosing a different program that I was a part of that supported Latino males, or maybe this program and shifted what I wrote about and how this program supported advancing the success of Latino males, and then telling the committee why these programs need to be improved, or why I'm talking about these programs in relation to Latino males. And I made that mistake. So I want to make sure that when you're writing your statement of purpose, every single thing you write in your statement of purpose should always relate to your career goal and your theme. Despite the support services camp offered, after the first year, I noticed that the majority of students in my cohort who had dropped out of college were Latino males. Bothered by this phenomenon, I applied to the Summer Research Institute at the University of Arizona, proposing a thesis that would explore the intersecting relationships between the structures of gender and higher education. Given former President Barack Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative, my study focused on the educational barriers and coping strategies of Latino males. My thesis sought to investigate how higher education institutions can help eradicate the current phenomenon of the vanishing Latino male in higher education. Through in-depth interviews, I found that Latino males are unlikely to seek academic help and support due to the stories of patriarchy which are told, retold, and reinforced in Latino male culture. The lack of help-seeking behavior among Latino males and the dearth of efforts to address these and other issues combine to hinder Latino male academic achievement and retention. Due to these findings, I have become inspired to develop a cohort-based program that utilizes research-based strategies focused on reducing the educational disparities for Latino males in higher education. So this paragraph is actually not that bad. It does really, as you can tell, tie into my career goal that I wrote in my introduction. It talks about how I noticed this discrepancy or challenge when I was part of this camp program where Latino males were dropping out. And so I wanted to find out why these Latino males were dropping out after their first year. So when you are writing your statement of purpose, I want to make sure that when you are writing about your experiences, that you don't just show your achievements within that experience, that you also showcase where the gaps in your skills and knowledge are and how you went about trying to mitigate those gaps in your knowledge and skills. So as you can tell, one of the gaps that I noticed was that Latino males were dropping out after their first year in this program. So what I did to mitigate that gap was I conducted a research study that tried to shed light on how I can better support Latino males, or information that I could provide to camp administrators so they can implement better strategies to support Latino males and not have them drop out. And so that was my initial thought on writing this paragraph, and I think honestly I did a really good job about doing that. And so I think I give it an A+ for this portion of my statement of purpose, and it really tied into what I really wanted to do as a scholar moving forward in the PhD program, but beyond the PhD program. In that paragraph, I do want to mention one thing that could have gotten me rejected from the PhD program, and that is the last statement. So the last statement was about designing a cohort-based program. It's very practical in nature. So instead, I should have written about what gaps in that work, what limitations did I see in my research that I can continue to build on at the PhD level. So when you are writing your statement of purpose, make sure it's research focused and that you identify limitations of your work and how you hope to build on that work by conducting research studies at the PhD level. Through my thesis, I discovered that Latino parents' voices and experiences are often left out of the literature, minimizing their roles and leaving their children to depend on a distant or fragmented relationship with higher education. In their work, The Vanishing Latino Male in Higher Education, Dr. Victor B. Saenz and Dr. Luis Bonjuan suggest that family engagement could serve as an important mechanism for the academic success of Latino males. Grounded on Latino critical race, gender, and masculinity theory as theoretical frameworks, I plan to investigate the roles of families in supporting Latino male college access, retention, and degree completion. Through in-depth interviews and home visits, I plan to investigate how Latino parents understand the system of higher education, specifically how it is that these parents develop their understanding and perceptions of the system. What are the resources, tools, and knowledge and power structures that help them develop their notions, and what are the limits and barriers they face? To what degree do these students take into consideration their families' opinions of higher education, the reasonings behind it, and the results of these decisions are all notions that I seek to explore through my graduate work. Without fully understanding the social, cultural, structural, and academic needs of Latino males and their families, they will continue to face systemic barriers that will inhibit the education opportunities and life trajectories. Alright, so in this paragraph, I think it's alright. A couple of things that I would have changed, what I think got me rejected from the PhD program. program was that I needed to be more specific with the theoretical frameworks that I was using to analyze my data. I should have mentioned frameworks that I have already read that I think are innovative in nature that could be applied to the study, and I did not do that at all. I just mentioned basic, broad frameworks that I thought I was going to use. I also didn't use innovative methods to collect my data. So you want to make sure you understand what the methods are in your field that are innovative that you can apply to your statement of purpose. Then I didn't really showcase what the greater impact was going to be of my graduate PhD dissertation. So you want to make sure that you are able to communicate what your work could impact at the larger scheme of things in terms of the education sector. And I did this with the previous paragraph as well. I didn't use these methods and theories that were innovated in my work. Something else that I want to mention is that I only wrote about one research experience that I had as a scholar. At the PhD level, you want to mention at least 3 to 4 research experiences that you had in the past that build on each other. So I didn't really showcase that I had research skills beyond one measly undergraduate experience. So you want to make sure you have 3 to 4 experiences, 3 to 4 paragraphs describing 3 to 4 different projects. The PhD in Cultures, Institutions, and Society at the Harvard Graduate School of Education is the ideal program for me to develop and carry out my research ambitions. I want to work under the guidance of Professor Mandy Savitz-Romer, whose research on college access and retention closely aligns to mine. Her previous experience as Associate Director of the Boston Higher Education Partnership and as a school counselor will bring a unique perspective to my research. Similarly, the work of Professor Roberto Gonzalez adds a different perspective to my own since he focuses on the experiences of immigrants. Being that a significant percentage of the Latino community is immigrant, his work on contemporary processes of immigration and social inequality is an important analytical addition to my own work. The intersection between classes, culture, and immigrant status has an important consequence in how parents relate and understand the educational system. Finally, Professor Karen Mapp's work on the role of families and community members in supporting student achievement complements my research. Her expertise with conducting home visits will help me design and execute my data collection instruments. So this is my why this program, why institution paragraph. And so I did a somewhat good job of explaining why these 3 professors' expertise closely aligns with mine. Except none of these faculty members really focus on the Latino male experience. And so that's where I had the detriment, and that's where I think why I got rejected from Harvard was because there was no faculty member in the program whose research really aligned with mine. And so that's one of the reasons why I think I did not get accepted into the PhD program at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, because research fit with faculty members is crucial in this PhD process. It is through the guidance and assistance of these scholars and the rest of the Harvard Graduate School of Education faculty that I hope to be able to use lived and research experiences of the educational system in order to develop groundbreaking and insightful work that can contribute to social change. Ultimately, a PhD in education will provide me with the tools to make a transformative impact on education research, policy, and practice. I am committed to becoming a skilled and informed researcher with the goal of advancing the success of Latino males in higher education. So I think my last concluding paragraph was written nicely, but again, it didn't really tie into what I was going to bring to the cohort, what unique perspectives I was going to bring to the cohort, the school, the program. It also did not reiterate what great impact I was going to make, how I was going to be innovative in nature, how I was going to advance the success of Latino males at the national level or international level. It was really focused on just kind of me summarizing what I already wrote in the previous statement of purpose. Alright guys, so that concludes my video on reading the statement of purpose that got me rejected to the PhD in education program at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I hope that some of my feedback and commentary provide you with some insight on how you can improve your chances of getting admitted into elite institutions like Harvard for their PhD programs. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.